Hi, Celeste.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody.
Celeste, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you were born and raised? And
I was actually born in Long Beach, California, because my dad was in the Navy, so my mom was driven down there to a naval hospital for my birth, and I was born on July the 26th, 1944, and just celebrated my 63rd birthday.
Wow.
Or, as I like to say, trips around the sun. I don't think of them as years. I think of them as a little voyage on this great big blue marble that's taking a trip around the sun.
Mm-hmm.
We all get so locked into the chronology of age, and I don't like that, although I'm very proud of each one of my years. And I was raised in Los Angeles, so right, near Hollywood, of course, and I went to junior high and high school and spent some time at UCLA, and just really wanted to be in the entertainment industry from as early as I can remember.
Really?
My mother says that I danced around the house and sang in my Dr. Denton's, which is what we called those little onesie suits that had the feet in them. They used to be called Dr. Denton's back in the year one. I was always interested in health and fitness and nutrition, and did a lot of modeling. I was kind of discovered by Ozzie Nelson he did a television show back in the 50s and 60s called Ozzie and Harriet. I was discovered actually on a sound stage. Ozzie Nelson was Rick Nelson's father, and Rick Nelson and one of his buddies were tossing around the football, and all the guys on the lot were flirting with the young pretty girl walking across the lot. And Ozzie Nelson came out of his bungalow and said, "What's going on out here? What a pretty girl, and anybody that can cause that kind of commotion on this soundstage, she deserves to be on our show."
Wow.
Well, I was actually on my way to a TV commercial audition and just taking a shortcut through the studio lot, and he said, "Come on in, let's talk about your career, let's figure out what we could have you do on our show." And I said, "Oh, Mr. Nelson, I don't even have a Screen Actors Guild card." And he said, "Well, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that for you." And he gave me 2 lines on Ozzie and Harriet. And then I went on my way to the commercial audition and booked the commercial audition. And I was fresh out of high school. I would have been 17 and a half. And that little moment launched my career.
Wow. How was Ozzie? Was he a nice guy?
He was darling, and I loved his wife. I loved Harriet. She couldn't have been sweeter.
Did you meet Rick?
Oh, yeah. It was Rick who really discovered me.
Wow.
So I worked with Rick, and then I double-dated with the fellow that he was tossing the football around with, a football player named Charlie Britt, and that was my very first date. And I went out with Rick and the young lady that became Kristen Nelson, the mother of the twin boys, and his daughter Tracy, and I think there's actually 4 kids, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Gunnar and
Matthew, Tracy, and more.
I forget the other one's name. So, what was the first job that you had? Was with Ozzie then?
That's correct.
Yeah. So when did you get into the movies?
Well, about the same time, I did some small roles. I did a small role on the Nutty Professor, which was also a wonderful story. I had been hired. I looked so much more sophisticated than other kind of teenagers did. So my agents would tend to send me out on the older roles, and it would be a little bit hard to pull it off. But they sent me on this audition for the Nutty Professor, and I was hired for 1 day's work. But Jerry really liked me, and
Jerry Lewis
kind of singled me out. Jerry Lewis singled me out because he was directing that gig, and he was doing a very elaborate setup. And you know how they let the first team, the actors, rest, and they bring in the stand-ins. And when they wanted to bring in the stand-ins for all of us, I kind of stood my ground because I saw how tired he was and everything, and so I said, "It's okay. I'll stand. And I was in these high heels and this black slouchy hat, trying to look like Greta Garbo. And at the end of the day, when I was, just kind of signing out, the assistant director came up and he said, "Jerry really liked you. You're on for the rest of the picture."
Wow.
So that was really terrific. And then my agents entered me in this American beauty pageant called Miss Rheingold. And Miss Rheingold wasn't just a beauty contest like, say, Miss America, which I really wasn't interested in. It also had a appearance schedule. It was a year's contract for TV commercials, radio commercials, personal appearances, and the opportunity to move from Los Angeles to New York, which I kind of always wanted to do. I wanted to study acting in New York as well as Los Angeles. So I won this contest called Miss Rheingold. I entered in 1963, and I reigned as Miss Rheingold 1964. There was a cash prize of $50,000, which was like $1 million in 1964. And I had a beautiful junior penthouse apartment on East 86th Street, 86th and 2nd in New York.
Oh, you go, girl.
I was underage, so I had a chaperone. I moved my mom back east with me, too. And that was incredible because I made all these personal appearances for Rheingold. I had my own pavilion at the New York World's Fair in 64. Rode in all the parades all over the Eastern Seaboard, did all their TV commercials, their point of purchase, their radio spots, and it really was almost like a finishing school because it was an incredible education. Since I went straight into acting and modeling, I didn't really get to go to college when I was young, but it was, like I say, it was such an incredible education. I met so many fascinating people and did so many fascinating things that, it added maturity to me, and I did a lot more modeling and studying, singing and dancing and acting in New York, and then I returned to Los Angeles in 1965. So.
And now 1965 was the year to do Live a Little, Love a Little?
No, 67 was Live a Little, 68 was Live a Little, Love a Little.
Okay. So did Star Trek come first or after Elvis?
No, Star Trek was first. Star Trek was 67.
Now what did you play on Star Trek?
The episode of Star Trek was called The Apple, and is kind of famous for the children of Val. Keith Andes played the leader of this group of very childlike aliens that were dressed like native people with grass skirts, and they had white hair. David Soul made his debut on this episode, and they thought I was too young for Shatner, but they wanted to get me on the show, and so I auditioned for Chekhov's love interest, one of the three ladies that played his love interest, different love interests on the show. And Walter Koenig had been hired to kind of emulate, like a young Beatle, sort of that kind of tussle-haired, cute English look that everyone was into in the 60s. So Walter Koenig came on the show in 67, and they hired me to be his love interest. So I played Yeoman Martha Landon, and I got to wear that, one of the cute little red dresses. I didn't die. I was one of the few red coats that didn't die, and was sort of acclaimed for being one of the first liberated actresses on, in a role like this. In other words, I had a weapon. I wasn't there to carry coffee, I was a full-fledged member of the landing team. I had a fight scene.
Oh, my goodness.
Wasn't, really got to have equality with the men. But one funny thing happened on Star Trek, and that was, we were sort of held by the natives because we were violating the Prime directive. We were interfering with their planet, and so we were held captive by the natives, and they put us all in this grass hut. And that particular day that I was to shoot those scenes, the NBC network guy, I believe it was NBC, the network guy came on the set, and he went, well, wait a minute, you can't have that girl, your guest star, spend the night with the rest of the crew. That just, wouldn't be right. But again, they were trying to go beyond that. So the network guy actually had my scenes cut and had me pulled out of the hut so that it didn't look like I spent the night with three guys.
Oh my goodness.
And I actually made them shorten the red dress because very mini skirts were in at the time, and I thought it was too long.
Yeah.
And everybody tells me, although this is an unofficial statement, that the Barbie doll was copied from my character. They tell me I look exactly like the Barbie doll. So when I do Star Trek conventions, people bring me the Barbie doll to autograph.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
And that's kind of fun. So that was 67. Man from U.N.C.L.E. was 66. That was another fun show I did with Robert Vaughn. And Little Love a Little was 68.
Now, how did you get that job?
I actually auditioned for Michelle Carey's part. I auditioned for the lead. And they were kind of divided between which actress they wanted. And I was kind of modelly looking, and Michelle was a little sexier looking. So they hired me to play the second female lead, which was the part of the model. And
can you tell me about the first time that you met Elvis?
Oh, that was great. I was supposed to come down to the set at MGM to do like a wardrobe check and hair and makeup check, and so I needed to report into the soundstage, and I saw Doug Lawrence, who was one of the producers, and he said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. We've been telling Elvis all about you. He can't wait to meet you." And I thought, "Oh my God, they told Elvis about me." And I turn around, and there's Elvis. And he just, gave me this great big hug and said, "I'm so happy to meet you. I heard all about you. I know that you were Miss Rheingold, and just been dying to meet you, and we're going to have so much fun." And he just couldn't have been nicer. He was just absolutely wonderful and far more gorgeous and handsome and beautiful in person than I would have ever imagined. I mean, it was like, oh my God, how can anybody be so beautiful?
Were you an Elvis fan?
Yeah, of course. I don't get fanatic about being a fan, but pardon the pun, but I certainly, grew up with his music and, saw all of his early TV appearances and, had to twist my mother's arm to see him on Ed Sullivan and, and had his records. And
here you are acting with him on a movie.
And there I was co-starring with him.
Yeah. Hey, how do you think Elvis was as an actor?
Actually, he was a much better actor than anyone ever gave him credit for.
Really?
He really just had a natural talent. He, really being an actor, to boil it down to its most simplistic form, is you in the situation they put you in. And from there, you build a character, build a scene, but it all has to be organic. It has to be you in that situation, you standing in that other person's life. What events led up to the person being who they are, what's going on in their life now, what are their hopes and dreams for the future. But you bring your body, your voice, your mannerisms, and within a certain amount of leeway, you can alter those behaviors, but it's you in the situation, and Elvis was incredible at being himself in whatever situation they put him in. And he had a great sort of twinkling sense of humor, there was just a little naughtiness, he could be like a little naughty boy and want to pull pranks.
Oh, did he?
And then he could be just very, very super sensitive. But he was just cute. There was just something so cute and charming. And if you think about the people that you've really liked in your life, it'll be not because of so much what they're doing, it's how they treat you, right?
Right.
And he seemed incredibly interested in you, the person. There's another superstar that has that ability also, and that's Bill Shatner. And I can say that both of them have that incredible ability of being super interested in you and what you're doing, rather than trying to be interesting and having people be interested in them.
Right.
And that was Elvis's gift, was he made everybody that he came in contact with feel special.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, you know, that and remembering your name,
yeah,
that can just, you know, charm you to death.
Yeah. Hey, he liked to do pull little things on the set, and you brought it up yourself. Did he do anything like that on the set? Little pranks?
Well, he didn't do any little pranks on me, but you know, he just had a great sense of humor, and you know, was a lot of fun, and you know, took breaks to do his karate, and took breaks to, you know, throw the football across the soundstage, and
was the Memphis Mafia there too?
Oh, they're always there.
Yeah. Did you get along with them?
Yeah, I met almost everybody and have continued to see most of the guys when I do the Elvis convention. So,
well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen George Krein over the last couple of years, and Joey Esposito, and Larry Geller, and his wonderful, I mean, oh yeah, I love all the Elvis people. I love everybody at Elvis Presley Enterprises.
Yeah. Did you
co-stars? Everybody's been great.
Yeah.
Haven't got a negative thing in the world to say about anybody.
Did you go out with Elvis, or did you?
Well, I was married at the time, and so was Elvis.
Uh-huh.
So my answer to that is that Elvis and I were very, very good friends, and had a great and deep connection, and
cool.
We did kiss on screen.
Lucky
so
you.
I always say that he's the greatest kisser of all time.
But would you have time to be able?
There was a very sad thing that happened also at this time. This was April of 1968. Lisa Marie had been born in February, so he was a new dad. But at this particular week, Martin Luther King had been assassinated. And Elvis was really, really upset and struck by that. And he had a very powerful connection to the black community, and felt that he really owed them everything as far as accepting him, and his mentors and his inspiration and his music all came from the black community, and he very much felt a part of it. He felt as if he were their brother, and he was just devastated.
Yeah, they say that struck him really hard.
It was a bad time. We'd lost our Kennedys, and then we lose Martin. And he asked me if I would join him for lunch the day of King's funeral. And we watched the funeral together, and Elvis actually sobbed in my arms. And of course, that's behind closed doors. And he was devastated that he couldn't be there for the funeral, because he would have liked to have sung or paid some tribute. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the funeral, he stands up in the dressing room and starts singing Amazing Grace a cappella. And I can't remember if that was with another singer or if that was while the eulogy was going on, but that was like the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. It was like an angel. He sang like an angel, and he was just, you know, he had been sobbing. Another time, he was kind of jamming with some of the other musicians. They'd kind of built like a little stage where during the break the guys could get up on this little, I think it was the back of a truck, you know, like those big trucks where they put the props and stuff that don't have...
Like a flatbed?
Well, yeah, it's like a thing, you know?
Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter.
and they sort of made themselves like this little stage, and he was playing all these instruments, and then suddenly he started singing like Mario Lanza, which I learned that Mario Lanza had been one of his idols. And he sounded like one of the great Italian tenors. He could have made mincemeat out of Pavarotti, you know? I just couldn't believe the range, the octaves his voice would cover, and, you know, what a gift he had.
Yeah, he was extremely talented.
This raw, natural, incredible talent.
Yeah, he was. Hey, if I remember correctly, didn't Vernon have a small role in that movie? Do you remember meeting Vernon, his father?
Yes, I remember. I think so. I couldn't swear to that.
Yeah, because I think he was in that. He had a small role himself.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I might have, but I don't have a specific memory in my memory bank of that incident. Maybe if one of the guys put that in context with, oh yeah, well you remember when we were, you know, that. But I don't recall him being in one of our scenes. Yeah. He sings a little less conversation to me in the movie, and we spent many, many days rehearsing and putting that down, where he sings the song to me, and I loved it. We danced to it together, and just absolutely loved that song. And when we finally wrapped that whole setup, and moved on to the house set, and he was certain that we had those scenes, in the can, if you will. He went over to the sound man, the recording guy, and took me by the hand and said, "I want the vinyl or acetate, whatever it was,
acetate
for Celeste." And he said, "Oh no, that's the property of MGM. I can't part with that." And Elvis said, "Oh yes, you can." He said, "You're underwritten. You'll blame it all on me, but Celeste loves the song. The little lady loves the song. It's going to be for her." So he handed me the acetate of Live a Little, Love a Little, and of course to this day I still cherish that.
My goodness.
It says property of MGM, and April something, 1968, and Live a Little, Love a Little is typed on the label. Of course I was too stupid to ask him to sign it.
Oh, yeah. And as a collector, that's a big thing, let me tell you. That's great.
Probably my being able to sign it and authenticate it would be kind of important too.
Yes, very cool.
I still have that and cherish it. And of course, I've got beautiful pictures of he and I together, which are what I usually do my autograph signings with at the various autograph shows.
About how long did it take, the movie?
Oh, I don't remember the shooting schedule. I think that is historically logged into some of the books.
Yeah.
But I can't remember, whether it was a 12-week shooting schedule or what it was. I was on for 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. Now, wasn't that the movie? Do you remember Elvis was supposed to have his dog with him?
He did.
Duke was on that.
Yeah, that was his Great Dane.
Yeah, Duke. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
How was Duke? Duke Presley.
Oh, he was big.
He was big?
It's a Great Dane.
Yeah? Was he good and well-mannered?
Bruno. I thought he was called Bruno, but he may have been Duke.
The real name's Duke.
Oh, okay.
His real name's Duke. But how was Duke as an actor?
Oh, he looks good to me.
Yeah.
He did a great
I know
job.
You love animals.
I certainly do.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my work today. I do holistic health care with dogs and cats.
What's your website for that?
My website is Celestial Pets. DELESTIALPETS.com. And I've written 2 books, one called Natural Cat Care and one called Natural Dog Care. And we teach people how to make their own dog and cat food, which is made from raw meat and raw poultry, a little bit of organic raw vegetable, raw bones, and I created a line of supplements that are all natural, pure, everything's graded for human consumption, that go into the meat.
It's all good
for Los Angeles, we have our own private label, USDA label of meat, that we have a special human-graded meat packing company that does my special meat mix and prepares our healthy, meaty bones. And then people incorporate my powdered supplement, my essential fatty acid supplement, which was co-designed by Dr. Barry Sears, the author of all the Zone books, and a special enzyme supplement that, plus the vitamin mineral powder supplement, was created by a very prominent holistic veterinarian along with myself. So I have an idea for a third book that I'm sort of mulling about in my head at the moment. But I'd really love to encourage everybody to go to my Celestial Pets website. We've got very few of the cat books left, so get them while they're still available. And we have several cases of the dog book left. But if you love your dogs and cats, these are must-reads. And then for my acting career, we have CelesteJeanne.com.
Yeah. And I'm going to be putting that. I'm going to be putting that link on Elvis2001.net, so people will be able to get to that. Can you remember the end of? Was there a cast party after the movie was all done?
Yes, there was.
Was Elvis there? Did you go to it? I
believe. You know, I can't. I'm a little foggy on the cast party.
Okay.
That's.
Did Elvis say goodbye to you?
Yes, he did. Absolutely. That was quite a memorable moment. You'll have to buy my book to get that one out of me.
Okay. Well, did Elvis gift you anything? Did you have, besides the acetate, which you're going to give me? No.
There were beautiful roses in my dressing room, of course. And Elvis had a visitor while we were filming. He had George Barris, come down with the cars.
Right.
And he said, "Come on, Celeste, Barris is here with the cars. Let's go play cars." So we go outside, and there's all these beautiful cars, convertibles and things parked all around outside the soundstage. And he goes, "Okay, which one do you want? You pick out whichever one you want." I said, "Elvis, I don't want a car." He said, "What are you talking about? Of course, pick out a car." And I said, "I have a car." He said, well, what do you want? And I said, "I just want to be your friend."
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God, his eyes filled up with tears. He took me in his arms and gave me this great big hug and said, "Nobody's ever said that to me before."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, that's the truth. I just want to be your friend."
Wow, that really hits you in the chest.
You are really one special little lady.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's a. Wow, that really kind of hits you right in the chest when he says that.
Right.
When was the last time you saw Elvis?
Actually, the end of the shooting was the last time we saw each other. I heard from him after that, but that was the last time we saw each other.
Yeah.
And remember, I told you I was married and he was married at that time.
Right. Hey, here comes the sad part. Can you tell me when you heard that Elvis had passed away, and how'd you feel?
Well, oddly enough, that was August 16th, 1977, correct?
Right.
That was also my father's birthday.
Oh, goodness.
And I was driving on the freeway, and I virtually had to, pull over. I mean, it was just, oh my God, how could they let anything happen to him was my first thought, because he was so well taken care of. He was, so surrounded by people constantly.
Right.
And I just thought, how could they let this happen to him was, my immediate thought. And of course I wanted to put blame. I wanted to put blame on doctors and friends and relatives, and of course, obviously, you can't put blame. But you asked me how I felt, and that was my immediate reaction. And then, really, I couldn't believe it was true, because you just can't believe that someone so much bigger than life could be gone.
And the whole world wept.
That he is truly gone, because my friend Larry Geller coiffed his hair before they closed the lid on the coffin.
Yeah, I'm friendly with Larry Geller, too.
He and his wife are lovely people, and I always look forward to seeing them at Elvis Week.
Yes, and you won't be going to Elvis Week this. Well,
it's not looking too good, as you know. I sprained my ankle, dislocated my toes.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm a little hobbly at the moment, but we're talking to everybody in England right now, right?
Yes.
And
England, it also airs here, so.
It airs here, but my English friends have to know that my English relatives came from Worcester, from Worcestershire, Worcestershire, and came over in the mid-1600s. So I'm hoping to find some Yarnall relatives that still reside in the Bristol area, because we're the Yarnall family here. I'm a 9th-generation American, but we still feel tremendous ties to England, and I love it there so much. It's
Well, any Yarnalls...
France and Italy are my favorite places.
And there goes my dog. What a time to bark.
Exactly.
Hey, if there's any Yarnalls out there, as I talk over top of my dog.
Email me at celestialpet@sbcglobal.net.
Yeah, or
we
they
have
can...
a Yarnall family website here, and I have a 9th removed cousin named Lynn Yarnall, who is doing a lot of our family genealogy. And the Yarnalls, the 2 Yarnall brothers, Francis and Philip, left Worcester, came over on the Bristol Comfort out of Bristol in the mid-1600s, and settled in Pennsylvania. So there's still a lot of Yarnalls in the Pennsylvania area here.
Well, any other Yarnalls out there that want to get in touch with you can also contact Elvis Express Radio or Elvis2001.net. Celeste, I want to thank you very much for doing this for Elvis Express Radio.
It's an honor for me to join you. Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
You're more than welcome.